It is 11 o'clock, or whatever the equivalent where you are is, which means it's time to get started. Alright, hello, anyone who may or may not be here. Nope, I'm getting a call back. 1 minute. Alright. Hello, everyone. Been a little while, hasn't it? Make sure everything's good and pulling up my notes. Come on, notes. There we go. Alright. So, it's been a little while since I talked about the project, or honestly even touched it, just because I've had other stuff going on. So yeah, I'll be doing live dev today. I'll also be giving an overview, just to start off with, of what's been going on. So since the last devlog and update, I have been continually working on the project. The thing is, most of what I've been working on has either been the script, or on lower level, under the hood stuff that's not easy to show off. As a result, it's like the thing is, when making devlogs, as I'm kind of realizing, is they're ultimately a marketing thing. That's kind of what they ultimately boil down to. Much, at least, it typically, what we understand as devlogs are more of a marketing thing than they are actually logging development progress and what you did. Some exceptions in terms of who does what, but generally that's the way it works. That's the way it works for me. So it's harder to show off stuff when you're doing things that are under the hood. 1 second. That said, oh, let me remember to update Discord one more time. Alright, that being said, let me try and give you a rundown of what I can, because honestly, it's across 3 months, it's hard to keep track of everything that's been added or changed. A lot of stuff has been reverted, or I'm kind of building over to try and improve. Sorry, I'm a little more disorganized than I thought it'd be. All right, let's start off with one of the big things, like under the hood things that has that I did. One of the first things I did in what had probably been in April or May, to try and speed up development progress. So, typically, in a lot of Unreal projects, people will use marketplace assets. Makes sense. Saves development time. I use them. I use a lot of them. I have a ton of marketplace assets, especially since they put stuff out for free every month. That said, the way they work is that they get placed directly into your content folder, like here. When you're working with a lot of assets, that starts becoming very disorganized, because you have just a list of assets that are from the marketplace that aren't super well organized. It's hard to find stuff when you need it, and it's hard to keep stuff separated from your main project files. So, a couple solutions I've found to this. One, I try to keep all my main project files, non-asset stuff, like my own game files, in a single folder. I call that folder 0_main. The reason I call it 0_main is because, well, specifically I add the 0_ because that ensures it's always at the top of the content browser. It's always at the top, so I don't have to scroll down to like look for it. Now I have still stuff in this Orion folder that needs to be moved over at some point, but that's the main thing. The only other really one is Lua, but that contains that's basically empty because it contains all my Lua scripts that are not imported into Engine. Ignore these stuff. And then there's obviously leftover stuff from that I imported in and haven't moved over yet. Even then, you might notice that despite how many marketplace assets you may or may not know I've used, my folder doesn't seem to have very many. This is not because I've been organizing them into my actual project folder, as you might imagine. Instead, what I have been trying to do, because another issue with the asset marketplace or marketplace assets is, aside from being disorganized in your main folder, once you start adding them to multiple projects, it really starts to bloat the size on disk. You know, you have a 5 gigabyte thing, and then you have 3 projects. That's 15 gigabytes. And if you want to make any changes to one of them for your projects, that's not applied across all of them. You have to copy and paste it. I mean, that's just a common Unreal Engine code thing. Well, that's where plugins come in. What I have started doing to fix this problem is, I'll just open up my plugins folder. Actually, it'd be engine plugins. And yes, right now the project is still on Unreal 5.2, not 5.4 yet. I'll move up to it eventually, but not right now. Anyway, the main thing I have done is I have started creating asset plugins. They're just plugins that I put my marketplace assets as they are in. I dump them. I put them into a dump project, and then I just import them right into asset plugins. And the plugins are named and organized. Oh, so yeah, I don't know if you missed this. First of all, hello, Dylan. Thanks for joining. But currently, I am using Unreal. Sorry, Dylan asks what version of Unreal I'm using. Yeah, I don't know if you missed it. I am using 5.2 right now. I'm planning on moving to 5.4. Another project I'm working on is using 5.4, but I'm still on 5.2. I know, Abyss. The Abyss says he's waiting for this free animation. They said they'd given 5.4. Yes, I agree. That's going to be nice. Provided, I mean, I think the animations are more for like for their motion matching thing, which is why they need so many of them. And what that does kind of worry me a little bit is, while motion matching looks cool, I kind of prefer to have as fewer animations as necessary, just so it's fewer assets to work with. Which kind of ties into, again, what I'm doing here is I like having fewer assets to have to worry about. So, in regards to marketplace content, I have started putting it into plugin folders like this. Now, these plugin folders are organized basically by either asset category, or by asset author. Just depending, it kind of depends. For example, a common author that I use, I'm just going to call him Alex because I don't know how to pronounce this. But he's probably one of the main environment artists that one of the main environment artists that I use. The stuff that is very Genshin looking. So let me well, okay, I won't open up any of the maps. But anyway, okay. Point is, all his stuff has a consistent style to it. So I put all his stuff in a folder. Another dev I use, Cinti assets. You guys are probably familiar with Cinti. They do low poly stuff, lots and lots of low poly stuff. Yeah, like this style. All of Cinti's stuff goes into its plugin. Sidearm Studio, that's another one I've been using recently. But then basically I use the author name if it's a consistent style across all their stuff. Otherwise, it goes into a category plugin. Like, I have a category for Niagara. I have a category for post-process stuff. Realism, which is like just realistic environment and assets and stuff like that. Now what you'll notice in some of these is they start with an underscore and then a name of, like, blueprints, PCG. Oh, let's go to Alex. Same thing here, blueprints, materials, mesh. The underscore at the start basically means this is custom stuff I have made. So in order to make sure to get this process to work, whenever I put a marketplace folder inside one of these plugin folders, I never touch it again, unless I am replacing it with an updated version from the marketplace. But I will never, if possible, I'll never modify any files from the actual assets, from the marketplace assets, so that they are, like, if it's attached to anything or if I need update in the future, it doesn't break. Instead, what I'll do is I add these I don't know what you call them, like ancillary folders with the underscore at the start. For anything that I want to modify this, I'll either create a blueprint and then add modified meshes onto it. Like here I have these castle props that I've made that I can just kind of, drop in, which are kind of, they're basically prefabs. Though I'm not a fan of Unreal's prefab or the modular, what's it called? Level packing? Something like that. I'm not a fan of their prefab system, so I just use actors. But yeah, I can make these prefabs. I can create new materials, like these are surface materials. tile. I need to turn off this whatever. Tileable surface materials. So I can kind of keep my own stuff separate from the actual marketplace. Oh, yes, PCG. Actually, let me go over to Hoy, because that's another set I like. So this is another asset collection. I don't think that did anything. Nope. Trees, maybe? Yep, there we go. And so that all stuff all gets saved in here. So it's separate from the main stuff if I need to update the main actual marketplace files, and it's reusable across multiple projects. So that took actually quite a bit of time, because I was trying to import all my stuff, or as many of my marketplace stuff in here as I could, and obviously I add more as much as I get it. It was very useful for mannequin animations, which are organized slightly differently, but so I can put all my mannequin animations in one spot so I can reuse them across projects as well. Very useful. This is something I would strongly recommend if you use a lot of marketplace assets and use multiple projects, is organizing them like this. I do have a customs folder as well, which is just combinations of assets from different like across asset packs, marketplace asset packs. But I don't want to, create references or dependencies between them, so I just have a customs folder for any custom combinations. Dylan John asks, what do you use for version control? I just use GitHub, a desktop. Admittedly, I know it's not... See, I work mainly solo. I have some projects I work on with someone else. And honestly, I know there are, like, Perforce is supposedly better because it has a proper asset, like, checkout, so you don't edit and break other people's stuff. That's probably better for a big team. But for myself, I just use GitHub Desktop. It works fine. It works great. Or, well, GitHub in general. But I just have the desktop client. I don't even use the... let me pull up. Orion RPG. Yeah, I don't even use the command line or anything. Just the desktop thing, because I can use, like, I've learned more on using like command line and the terminal and stuff like that. It's pretty neat, but also I prefer to use apps and GUIs when I can. Just I think they're more convenient. All right, let's pull up the list. All right, so that's what's going on with my asset organization and putting stuff in plugins. It's one of the main things I really like about Unreal compared to, like, I've used Godot a lot. It doesn't really have a equivalent thing. Is the plugins folders that are A, shared across projects, and B, hidden from the projects unless you open them up. So I can modify stuff here and then forget about it because I just know it'll work, and then I only need to focus on what's in here. Which even this needs to be cleaned up a bit. Some of my other projects just have like 3 or 4 folders for stuff in the main content folder. So, come here. All right. So I'm looking over. I have my notes of what I'm going over. Future assets, custom effects and shaders. Ah, right, yeah. That would be interesting to show you an example of some of the customs stuff I made using it. So, I think I've shown this before, how I do visual effects, because Niagara's cool and I use it, but I've been looking for a way of creating visual audio effects that are more precisely timed. Now, one thing I added is gameplay cues to Omega, which is just an actor that contains a Niagara particle, a audio, and a decal, I believe. So if you want to have like a decal footprint or whatever after that. But I also just use sequences to create, like in this case, magical effects. So if I can make sure desktop audio is on, it is. All right. Okay, well, I'll just show you the timeline here. It'll be on a different screen. But if I go and look up that, okay, it's under the map, but that'll be work for demonstration. I keep the particle. It's obviously a spawnable. But then, yeah, as you can see here, I can time the sound effects. This is a little awkward, but whatever. I also have this here as a subtrack. This is just calls an event to trigger to apply damage from whatever battle action this sequence was using. So yeah, put all together, looks like this. And this is placed into the customs folder, so I can use it across projects as well. So, Atomic Karate says, sorry for this silly question, but how do you fancy Unreal as a novice solo game dev? Unreal always seems so intimidating and difficult, so I could never commit to learning it. So the thing about Unreal is it has a pretty... There's two things to keep in mind. One, it's got a pretty steep learning curve to like get into. And two, part of the reason is because Unreal has a lot of systems, unlike some engines which kind of... You build a lot of game systems from scratch. Like the player controller, game modes, game instance. Unreal has all of that stuff built in out of the box. And with my Omega Game Framework plugin, I've kind of gone even further with that, with adding things like a music system and zones and all sorts of gameplay systems and all sorts of like just features like that, which come out right of the box. Which means there's a lot to learn and a lot of moving parts. However, once you get over that initial learning curve, it is, I think, the easiest engine to use. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to like scale it to the level of complexity that you want. Even in terms of like for me the editor, basically like kind of what I've been talking about here, just putting all of these assets into folders and then putting them away so I don't have to think about them. I just know they work, and I only have to focus on the few things that my game needs. That has been great for decluttering, for keeping things simple, and for making the process easier. So yeah, I'd say it's a bigger hump to get over initially, but once you're over it, which may take a little while, it might even take like, to really, I think, get into a full groove could take a few months to up to a year, depending on what type of projects you're working on and how much you need to learn. Once you're over it, though, I think it's buttery smooth. So that would be what I recommend. Also, it kind of depends on what type of game you're making. If it's a 3D game you're making, then I would say, yeah, Unreal Engine's your best shot. If it's a 2D game, maybe look up Godot, just to kind of try it out, see what you think. But all right, see. Oh, wow. I was going to basically... Okay, so just in my notes, I had a whole thing to go on about for the devlog that I ended up canceling. I had a whole thing I went on about, about, like, kind of complaining about the AAA industry and how I think a lack of organization and lack of doing stuff like this and reusing assets smartly is probably part of why costs have ballooned, on top of, other things like hiring too many people, poor allocation of resources, a lot of reasons, but ultimately I think you guys get the idea of like this makes organization better, and should if organization is one of the most important things to making sure your project development goes smoothly. It can take a while to do at the start, which is partly why development's taking me so long, but if you don't organize properly, you are going to greatly regret it later on. So because it's going to be harder to iterate on stuff, especially if you leave and come back. All right. Something that might be nice to talk about is, after I close out this sequencer file, is, excuse me, Omega Game Framework. Now, I put out 1.4 alpha, and I've gotten the numbers like are all messed up, because technically I did a showcase for 1.5. 1.5 is what I expected to be like the big version. It still kind of is, but 1.4 alpha is like a test version of that. Point is, I've been making a lot of efforts to move systems that I designed for Omega the systems I designed for Circle of Orion directly into Omega so they can be reused across multiple projects. One of those is... Actually, do I have a list of those that I want to go over? Okay, Lua scripting is one. I've integrated a Lua machine into Omega Game Framework and modified it a fair bit so it suits my needs better. Like, if any of you who use Lua machine for Unreal Engine. Omega's version loads a Lua state automatically rather than you needing to specify one every time. And yeah, my Lua code for Omega is... all right here. That's not that's general use code. And all in yellow right now because I've been reworking some of the code and as a result broken things like what did I break? Types armor? Oh, we can fix that now. Armor type D armor types. I guess I could talk about if any of you use Lua and are curious about my formatting. I could talk about that. One thing that's really neat about Lua is how I can essentially use it to generate my data at runtime rather than needing to write it all out. So, for instance, rather than needing to manually create a new data asset for, because how I was doing it before, let me see if I still have the files in here. One of the ways I would create data before, if I can find it, items. Okay, yeah, it's kind of like, let me just see all the data items that I have. Okay, that's actually not, oh, there we go. I create an individual data asset or data item for every single data, well, thing in the game. Every weapon, every item, every character, every skill would have its own asset item. It's a clean way of doing it. But the thing is, sometimes you just have items that repeat code and just kind of scale upwards. Like you have a potion 1, 2, and 3. They all should have basically the same code, except for all that changes is like the description of how much health they heal, how much health they actually heal, and their name. But they reuse so much other code, so it takes it's again when it's one or two things, not a big deal. But when you start scaling up with like potentially hundreds of different iterations of this stuff, having to manually create those every time and repeating that code, a lot of work, too much time, and I'm all about being lazy and saving time because that's a good thing. So I use Unreal Engine, or sorry, not Unreal Engine. I use Lua to script that stuff. So for instance, even though I'm still working on them in this case, if I go into item consumables, I can manually write out the code for an item here, but I also just create these macros that automatically, I can just create a macro that says potion. I can input, I believe it says, I need to finish this actual function. But basically, I just create a function that says create potion, HP, and that means at runtime, it'll create all the potions or ethers or whatever I want. I have a similar thing for equipment. Is it equipment? Yeah, sword, axe, and this will create me all the different axes and bows that I need. I just need to write up a bit of a code to do that, but it generates at runtime, and if I need to edit it, just edit it in one place. Super cool. You can get really crazy with scripting. It's very fun. And it's easier for modding. Dylan asks, do you use VS Code for development with Unreal? How do you like it? I do use Visual Studio. Well, okay, so for programming with Unreal, with C++, creating plugins like Omega and working directly with the engine, I use Writer, JetBrains Writer. I can open that up and show you. Because JetBrains Writer is built to work with Unreal Engine, so it's got a lot of great helpers, a lot of autocorrect and things like that. And it's, I mean, if you're using it all the time, it's not too expensive. But, oh, and yeah, it makes building and running super easy. However, for basically everything else, I use Visual Studio Code. It's another way I like keeping source code and script or content stuff separated, and this is a way I can do that. I will build my source code, which is mainly Omega Game Framework, in JetBrains Writer, which is taking a while to load, but that's whatever. Probably not gonna use it today. And then all my scripting data I use in Visual Studio Code. And yes, for that purpose, Visual Studio Code works perfectly fine. There's some stuff you just have to become familiar with. Like I don't think I use any Unreal helpers, like any extensions for Unreal, because I mainly just use this for Lua and for writing Markdown and like docs. Oh, and some Python scripting as well. Which, to create all the scene files. But, yeah, I think Visual Studio Code works fine for this sort of stuff. I don't know about for programming, like, native Unreal Engine code, though. There we go. Well, it's still loading to get all the helpers and whatever, but... Alright. So that's one of the events. Anyway, that's one of the many uh-oh. Hello. Okay. I don't know. Can anyone hear me? It's just that I gotta. Let me reload restream. It looks like it might have paused. Is my connection bad? Give me just one, like 10 seconds to double check. Now it looks like we're frozen. Darn it. Okay. That was weird. Yo, Ruben, what's up? How's the dungeon RPG going? All right. What are we? I'm gonna turn on the fan 1 sec. It's very hot in here. Hopefully that doesn't mess with the audio. Okay. Dynamic cameras. So I don't know how best do I want to show this off. So I got an itchy finger. Move my... When that's done saving, because everything takes so long to save right now. Which is probably another sign I need to do more cleaning. Okay, it's at 100%. What's going on? Oh my goodness. Alright, there we go. Move that. Dynamic cameras. So this is a system I'm working on for. Hello, Sarah. This is a system. Wait a minute. Let me check something. Oh, okay. I hit save again. You know, it's a problem I need to figure out. If I'm afraid of hitting save because it'll take a while to load to actually save and let me get back to working. Anyway, a system I am working on is. I actually have a fair bit away. It's a dynamic camera instance. Yeah, so the dynamic camera instance is a component related to the dynamic camera system. So the dynamic camera system is basically a system that is meant to simplify the process of creating and blending between multiple cameras. With having like cleaner cuts between them than Unreal's base system. And I'm potentially having can't see the screen. And so I got a Twitch comment saying they can't see the screen. That's not good. Yeah, I can go over how to use I can go over how to use dynamic cameras in a second. Let me just double check what's going on Twitch. What the heck? I don't know, it says I'm offline. Okay, well, I don't have time to look into it right now. To clone to GBSM on Twitch, if you want to come over to my YouTube channel, we're streaming here as well. I have to look into what on earth Twitch is doing and why it's not working. But alright, dynamic camera system. So, I'm trying to think of a good example of how it's used here. Oh, well, this is a trigger box. I had to test it up. There's a couple different ways you can use it. I mean, what I talked about is the base use of it. But I guess I'll show you. I'll show you a use case, which I don't think you actually have a camera here. All right. I'm trying to pull up the player character. Here we go. Actually, I should use the local content browser just so you can see better how my stuff is organized. Blueprints, actors. Anyway, and this should be turned down a little bit. Ooh, character. player. When it loads. When it loads, I'll probably have to open up the exploration gameplay system as well to show off some of this. And I think battles combat might be broken right now, otherwise that'd be a good example to show it off. Chop chop. I've got to figure out why this project is going so slow. All right. So I really have no clue. So, dynamic camera. So the dynamic camera instance is a component that spawns a dynamic camera actor. And that's the main thing you need to worry about, is that dynamic camera actor. You can select the camera actor class from here. I have some options here. In this case, it's Orion player. The default one you'll have is dynamic replicate owner, which this takes the camera from the owner, which I don't have one on right now, but typically characters do, and essentially replicates its positioning and its FOV and all its settings. Now, dynamic cameras work by having a, whenever this loads again, I want to punch something. By having a dynamic camera actor. A dynamic camera actor is a pawn that has a spring arm and a camera attached to it. Here. And you can move it around and set it however you want. When the dynamic camera system is a subsystem that can be active or not. You'll have to manually activate it. When it is active, the way it works is it looks through all your dynamic cameras that are in the actual map, and then we'll pick whichever one has the highest priority, and we'll blend and go to that one, provided the camera's active. As long as the camera's active, otherwise it'll ignore it. Now you have some settings here, like for interpolation speed, to determine how quickly we are blending to that camera angle. Fast, higher speed means we blend there faster. You can also set the speeds differently for interpolating the location and interpolating the rotation. You can also, this is a one that I may or may not keep, set rotation from player controller. That just sets the rotation of this camera from the player controller, but I'm not entirely sure I want to do that. From there, you just kind of script your cameras and set up logic for how you want to blend to them and when. So for example, this one's super simple. This is a player camera. It just sets the location of this camera to wherever the player's location and rotation is. And the player rotation is set from the control rotation. That's right, because we want to control the camera. And then I actually set up where the camera is up here. So this is like a pretty standard controller you would already have on like a third-person player. I'll just show you how it looks. You know, standard run around, jump, all that. Couple things that are advantages of this is that I'll get to your question in 1 second, Ruben, or your statement, I guess. Well, actually, I can read now. Ruben says, "Hey, man, developing is going a bit slow but good. I've had to step away for some time, but it's coming along. Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to whenever you've got stuff to update. Also boring stuff, yeah. But I am looking forward to whenever you got stuff to update because JRPGs are cool. Anyway, so using the dynamic camera instance, I have it set to the player camera. I have a few other just dynamic camera classes that are come pre-baked in that you can use. So like I have an old over the shoulder camera, which again some of these are work in progress. I don't know how many of them are currently active. Okay, so that the over the shoulder camera isn't working. I don't know why. It might be a replicate owner. You can also override the priority and decide whether it's automatically activated in the camera instance. Let's see. Platformer. Okay, so if I remember right, hopefully this one works so I can show it off. Okay, so yeah, like for example, this is the platformer camera that I made. It's probably not going to be used in this game. It's like a pre-packaged one. This just is a normal follow camera, but when you are jumping it, like you can script. I have it scripted so it locks to the Z-axis. So like a lot of platformers, it kind of doesn't follow you exactly. See, not the one I'm using here, but so you can script different types of cameras for different scenarios. And if I go back to Orion player, What's nice is the ability to. It's a little more easy to set up. I feel blending between them without needing to script every single instance. So let's see. I'll make a dynamic camera. What I'm gonna do is set up this camera here. Is this a look at player camera? Do I have a look at player camera? I don't. All right. Well, we'll just do this for example. I'm gonna make it so when I overlap with this box, it's going to blend to this new camera. Now, in order to have dynamic camera systems work, you need to get the player controller. Meta settings. Meta settings, that's something to go over too. Dynamic camera. So you need to make sure the dynamic camera system is actually active. Otherwise, it won't be working. So, I believe in my case it automatically activates. It automatically activates when the gameplay begins. So let's see, begin overlap with the trigger box and overlap. This is probably something I should make a component for. But on. Make sure that works. All right. Then we are going to grab this camera and then just set it to be active. And it deactivates when we're not inside it. We'll set its interpolation. We'll make sure, well, it's not active by default. Now, in order for it to us to blend this, it has to have a higher priority. It has to have the highest priority of any camera in the scene. So in this case, just to make sure it's higher than the player. Actually, I don't remember, what is the player's priority? I think it's just 1. Yeah, it's just 1. So 20 is fine. Make sure it's not active. So we'll play. Okay, what the heck? Oh, wait. Oh boy. Well, we may have found a bug that I can't account for. What the heck? Alright, well, we got a problem. What's supposed to happen there... Let me load up battles and see if I can show it off better here. Because what is supposed to happen is it's not supposed to blend to this camera until we walk over it. So, yeah, I'll be... If that's actually a proper bug, I will be fixing it. Quickly to... So, Dylan asks, have you had to make cutscenes? What tools or practices do you recommend? So I actually have an older devlog that goes over a little bit of some of the stuff I use to make cutscenes. Because yes, I do. It kind of depends on what style of cutscene. My game uses a lot. Like the script right now is sitting at over 200 pages. There are hundreds of scenes. Well, maybe a couple hundred. So I can't really manually use sequencer to make all of those. I'll show you the current system I'm using. I've used a few different systems. The one I have overall settled on, works the majority of the time, is using either... The branches are not connected. Yeah, I know. I disconnected them to test. Like if I... Because all that should happen is this is what turns the camera active, which I've deleted now. Turns the camera active. Like right now, I should be sticking to the main player controller, or the player camera when I start up. But I'm not, and I don't know why. Let me try and see if I can run in the box and run out of it. And then, sorry, Dylan, I'll get back to your question in just a second. So I run inside the... Hang on. Run inside the box. And then run out of it. I'm gonna make sure it's actually even triggering. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. We'll have to figure that out. Anyway, so to your question about cutscenes, Daniel, because I have so many, I can't really make sequencers or custom script them all. There is a system in Omega called Flow Asset, which is what I have No, it's totally Firestone. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Appreciate you trying to help. All right. There is a system in where is it? In Omega Game Framework called Flow Asset, which is mainly used for creating like branching dialogue. Yeah, the dynamic camera component, Sarah, it creates a dynamic camera actor on your player. You still have to activate the actual system. You have to use the subsystem. You have to call the subsystem from the player controller and then set the camera system to be active. I can try to show you off. Sorry, I'm getting disorganized. I'll quickly show off dialogue and then I'll try to get to combat to show how the dynamic camera system works. So this is an example of the flow asset system in Unreal. Or in Omega specifically. This is what is like the easiest way to make dialogue, because there's already systems set up for it, and it creates branching dialogue. But when you're working with a linear, I mean, you have stuff like I can check save for tags, I can play a dialogue line with a lot of stuff on it, open a menu. But when you're working with hundreds of lines, potentially thousands in your game, Restream froze on me again, so. Restream. By the way, just quickly, Sarah, did you understand what I was saying about the dynamic camera? If not, I'll go over it more in a minute. Anyway, when you have hundreds of lines in a project, it becomes really tedious. And I learned this when I worked on Kitty Roo, Fantastic Kitty Roo, which is another game that's currently available on Steam. It's a rhythm game platformer, the Fantastic Kitty Roo. Might even pull it up. In fact, I will. I'll pull it up. I know Inkros would appreciate that. Oops. Come on. The Fantastic Kitty Roo, which is $6 on Steam right now. It's a short game. It's a rhythm platformer. This is the previous game I worked on. This game is largely a visual novel, has a lot of dialogue, and we used FlowGraph for this. And it's a lot of linear dialogue with very little branching, and we found out that was a bad idea to use FlowGraph for it. Now, we were able to make up a system where we could write it in CSV files and then just import it in, which saved time, but that much copying and pasting is also pretty tedious. It's really good when you have like a BioWare game, a classic BioWare game with a lot of branching, or a Baldur's Gate. It can be potentially good for that. It depends. For my game, though, one second. For Circle of Orion, it's most of the scenes are linear, so I needed a faster way to script them. So the main thing I've been bouncing between two is just actually just scripting them out in CSV files and TXT files. Is this even used for storyboarding as well? I actually don't do as much storyboarding as I probably should. I'll kind of show you my process in a second for how I write the scripts. Now, right now, the game is working on a system that if you've ever used Dialogic in Godot, or if you've ever used RenPy, it's kind of similar to that. By the way, you're now seeing some of the dialogue in the game. Feel free to pause and enjoy that if you want. But it kind of here's just how it works. Right now in this is actually this needs to be updated because the format's out of date. But we have speaker name, line of dialogue, and then I can call Lua scripts or Lua functions this way, like wait, fade, blah 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 blah. And this is easy to add lots of content very quickly and copy and paste stuff quickly. It's a much faster process, and it's easier to edit. I'm using TXT files right now. I will show you what I'm probably gonna go back to is using CSV files, because like this is how the script previously looked, and probably is what I'm gonna end up sticking to, because this allows me to set up every specific field I want. So now I have one for speaker, for line. I have a script that this actually needs to be moved over here. Whatever. that breaks these up into individual files by string key. Direction just is kind of a description of what happens in there. It's not actually used in game. And then I have stuff for expressions, for scripts, and events. This is the format that I used in my previous game, Liberty Bell. Liberty Bell uses this system, and that was a lot easier to script in. Is to create cutscenes in, is doing like this. The difficulty is you need to basically have something that can import CSV files into the editor, parse the data into something that's usable, and then you need to, obviously do it. It takes just a slight bit longer to play test, but it's much faster to edit and to like copy and paste and stuff. So I would recommend, if you have something like I do, like a lot of JRPGs where it's a lot of linear dialogue, using a format probably like this. It's just easier to edit on a and to scale up to a drastic event. As for Sarah's question about storyboarding, I don't know if there's I don't really do storyboarding. Essentially, what I do is I kind of just write a direction of generally what I want to happen in this scene, and I leave that there knowing, I don't know the specifics, but something like that is going to happen in this scene, and then I'll just have a line of dialogue that plays that for testing until I actually go back in and fill out the full scene and all the script events and camera cuts and stuff like that. If that makes sense, I hope it does. All right. Back to Unreal. So, back to, if that makes sense, back to Sarah's question about dynamic cameras when Unreal unfreezes. So, hopefully battles... It may be that combat will eventually... it may be that combat stuff is just kind of broken right now, so I may not be able to show it off very well, but I will try. Because that's the thing, is as I've been trying to improve some stuff's broken in the process. Let's do a combat test. Hopefully the volume's not too loud. Okay, there are no enemies on the screen. How do I test this? Let me do a quick check to see if I can fix whatever is not working. First, I want to check and see if there are even enemy... Because if I can do it quickly, then I can show off how the dynamic system works, or how blending between different cameras works. Encounters... Okay, so all the encounters are loaded in... Punching bag... We'll do punching bag 3. Enemies... Yeah. Wait, are the enemies loaded in? Sorry. Contextless spoilers here, but, okay. So what should be happening is it should pull from that and load him into the battle. Let's figure out why it's not. This is live game dev, so let's open up the battle system. Let's make this to a... Might be easier if it's a new editor window. We will do... Is this battle transit? Yeah, this is where we spawn in the enemy. Spawn at a breakpoint. Get that out of the back down here where it goes. Alright, let's double check. Battle encounter. Do we have... What? Oh, it spawned the local encounter. It didn't set the value. What did it say? Nil? What's the... Yeah, field enemy. What do you mean it's nil? That's not right, is it? If so, that'll be an easy fix. Basically, it's trying to pull the actual enemy encounter data from the... Oh, well, here's another issue. Get value... Ah. Move key. Oh, is there no key for him? Is that why? Slimes. Just do punching bags. Those are easy. Which he has no Lua key. What the heck? Alright, well, we'll just copy and paste one in, I guess. For testing. Encounters. Enemies. Punching bags. We'll do 3-man. Or no, we'll do one. We don't need more than one. Alright. Wait, did it remove it? Oh, you piece of... Alright, what is going on? What's it setting the Lua key from? Is that in the character class? It's getting the general label. Alright, well, then I guess we'll do label. I don't want... Here's what we'll do. If it's empty, then we won't. So now it should be okay. Okay, that looked like it might have worked. Remove the breakpoint. Alright. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, so dynamic cameras might be broken. This may explain why you're having trouble with them, Sarah. If it might explain if they're just straight up broken right now. And I may need to turn down the volume on the desktop so the music isn't too loud. Let me just double check what camera we're supposed to be referencing at that point in battle. Tick, tick. And string. And player control. Controller. Oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Get camera. Get master camera. While we're here, I can show you these, how it's supposed to work anyway. There are two cameras taken into consideration in the dynamic camera system. There's master camera and source camera. The source camera is the camera we're supposed to be blending to match right now. And the master camera is a camera that's created at runtime, which is the main camera you're actually looking from, and it's what is moving to match to whatever the source camera is. So I want to check what the master camera and the source camera are. Just to make sure. Actually, I don't need to check the master camera because that's not going to be any different. That's just created at runtime. Okay, well, it's not changing. It's supposed to be changing the camera to blend to the battler. Wonder. Okay, let's go into the battler class. Because what's... Oh, wait, no, the camera... That's right, because Oh, actually, well, this I can show how it's supposed to work here. Even if it's not working right now. In this instance, what's happening? What the heck? What happens with a battle system is I create a new dynamic camera. Actually, you can see it here. See, new dynamic camera instance. And because this is attached to the gameplay system, when the gameplay system is shut down, it removes all its components, including this camera, so we won't need to worry about it anymore. I'll even make this priority 10. So, we activate in this case, when the system starts, we create this battle camera. The battle camera just gets our the parent actor, which is... Maybe that's it, because I changed parent actor to owning actor. Let me double check that. But anyway, what's supposed to happen here is that we get the actual battle system, and we will blend this camera to look at whoever the current turn member is. So you can make cameras scriptable. That's another advantage of them. Now, does it? This one here. What the heck? Dynacam battle. Okay. It's not childed to the... Alright. Well, that would explain it. Let's try owner. See if that works. That would be nice if it's just a scripting error here and not a fundamental coding error. Because then I would have to push a new build to fix it. There we go. Alright. Skills aren't working for some reason. But you saw how the camera blended from the enemy to this character Leo, and I don't have any skills to skip his turn with to test this out. But that's because it's running on the dynamic camera system. So all you need to do is basically make sure, hey, always check to make sure we're looking at the player. And since the battle has set us to use it, all that's happening here, well, in this case, what's happening is we're blending to the turn member, which in this case was Leo. And it'll change depending on whose turn it is. But as far as the dynamic camera system, all that's happening is that this camera and the player's normal camera on the field are both active right now. But this one has a higher priority, so this is the one we're focusing on. And when this one is either shut off or destroyed, then it gets removed from the list. I wish I could show my hands to demonstrate this better. It gets removed from the list, and the only other camera active is our player camera, so we're going back to that on the field. So you can use this to set up, like, if you want fixed camera angles or you want to blend between a fixed camera angle and a player-controlled angle, depending on the area. That's what I was trying to show off earlier. You can do that. You can set up a camera that is always looking at the player, kind of, and blend between that. It's just meant to be an easier way to set up blending to cameras. And I have to drop this blueprint into the level, right? Well, not necessarily. Remember, it's just an actor, so as long as the actor exists in the world, it'll be taken into account. So you can use the component. You can use the dynamic camera instance to spawn the camera, and then it'll be attached to whatever actor has this component. Or you can manually place it into the world like this. Create your own, if you want a fixed camera angle or something. I'm not entirely sure why this aspect of it isn't working, but you just need to make sure to do the same thing to set it active or deactive, make sure it has a higher priority. And yeah, that's essentially how you use it. And just to be more specific, when it's talking about view, it'll obviously it'll move it'll copy the spring arm, the camera component data, all that sort of stuff. Does that help? I'm a little... I'm trying to think if there's a way I could demonstrate it. By the way, if anyone has other questions or stuff they want to know about, be sure to be sending those in as I'm wrapping this part up. Now let's get a drink of water. I'll go ahead. To demonstrate, I will go ahead and go back to the test map and make a new just fixed camera. I'll make a new camera, a new dynamic camera to demonstrate how to use this and hope it works. So let's get rid of this one. All right. I will go into main blueprints, actors. Do I not have a cameras? I should have a cameras if I don't. Alright, I might not. Well, we're going to do it now. Cameras. Let's go dynamic. Omega dynamic camera. Dynacam fixed. That's fair. I am working on documentation in general for Omega, and I won't promise this because I know I'm not consistent about this. I always try to see if I can find time to make videos showing off the features of Omega. Kind of the issue is features will get outdated, so it's like I don't want to make a video if it's going to be outdated in a few months, and so I'm working on standard documentation to make this easier. Dipsy says, first time on your live. Big fan of your content. Sorry, that was an alarm. Thank you very much, Dip. I really appreciate it. That's the stuff that keeps me wanting to work. It's knowing how much people enjoy my work. So, in this case, we're going to set this to priority 25. We're going to make sure it's turned off by default. Let's go ahead and what I will do is say linked volume. What we're going to do is when we have this on a field, we can click on set an actor that it references. Can I just directly do this? On actor begin. I don't think I can. This would make things faster. Well, let's drop it in here. Dynamic camera fixed. Please work. What the heck? Alright, I want to get rid of this camera and make sure it's actually... that's the actual problem. What the frick? Alright, well, you know what? We're going to try this. Just to demonstrate, it's supposed to work when camera is active or not active. Instead for now... I'm just going to set it to a super low priority. Priority 10. There. Okay, that does work. Sick. Alright. So now, the way we're going to script this camera is that when we overlap... when the player overlaps... a volume that we've linked to. I'm probably just going to put this directly in Omega too, so it'll be available for you. It probably won't be available in the releases. You'd probably need to download it from the source. But set priority. Then we're going to set our priority to 100. This is not the way you normally should. I have it to set active, but or I would prefer you to set it active and not active. But since that's not working, this does the same thing. Then we're going to set its priority to -10. Alright. Now. What? Okay, so then, yeah, you'll drop this server. You'll drop the camera actually in. Just set whatever box you want to link to, in this case. Then we run in. Oh, that was a fast blend. But, yeah. And then you can change the speed going into this. In this case, I'll set it down to 2, so it's a lot slower. So now, there we go. Now this changes the speed going in, not going out. So it'll still be fast going out. I'll also check set rotation to player controller so that it keeps the control rotation to this actual camera angle, so that oh, actually I can't do that. Right. In this case because it's using the normal player as well. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I will turn that off then. And work on this a little bit later. But that's another example of how a dynamic camera system can work. And I can even say, because it's scriptable, take find look at rotation, get actor location. Yeah, it is simple. That's kind of the whole point, is to make it as simple as possible. It's just right now it's a little buggy, so it was hard to show. But set our actor location. We are going to get player pawn, and then set actor rotation. Set actor rotation. So now if we do this, we can have this camera always looking at the player as well. So.
Put it on.
Sorry. All right. So, now we have the camera turning and looking at the player as I move around, until of course I exit out. So yeah, scriptable cameras, super simple system to set up. And how is my stream, by the way? I'm just trying to check if I still having issues. But yeah, and it keeps it again in one spot, and if I find this easier to handle rather than needing to doing the normal Unreal way, where you have to one, you have less control, and two, you have to keep on, like, if you want to debug it or change stuff, you have to find out, all right, where did I set this one camera to blend to this other camera, and yeah. So that's the start. I have other plans in the future for setting up ways you can actually blend between two camera positions at the same time. So if you want to get like a mixture and other stuff, but this is at least a start. So also Sarah says your demo a year back is what I'm referring to right now. Demo for Omega, for Orion, or for the Genshin remake. Kind of what are you referring to? Just so I know. Also, I'm going to go double check on something really quick. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Or less. Alright. Transition. Okay, do you remember which version of Omega? Because I don't remember if I talked about dynamic cameras in there. I don't remember if I think that's a recent addition, but... Alright, let me look back on the list, see if there's anything else I want to show off. I probably won't get to any actual live dev today. This will just be kind of going over what I've worked on and what I've added. But we'll see. Where am I sticky? I closed sticky notes, it looks like. Demo assets, okay. Again, this is more of an Omega thing, but I can talk about demo assets. Demo assets are just new blueprints that I've been adding to Omega that are demo or demonstrate all the different features. I added a ton in the latest update for all sorts of things. So if you go into demo folder, I mean, you already have a lot, but let's see, I got some demo abilities in the works. I got, and these aren't all done and easy to use, so I'll be making documentation on them as they are. I have some animation templates for different things, like falling, locomotion, idle, which has like is a normal idle animation, but it starts at a random time, and you could maybe later add fidgets. AOE is something I'm working on. It's not really ready. 1.3 you added dynamic. Oh yeah, so I think I added the dynamic system, camera system a while ago, but I added it a while ago, but I had a bunch of different iterations of trying to figure out how I wanted to make it, and I didn't like any of them. So basically, the dynamic camera system we have now is nothing like what like all the stuff previously was scrapped because I didn't like any of it. It was just too confusing and not very intuitive. So this is the system I've settled on currently. All right. AoEs are a system I am testing out, and they're just it's a actor that's spawned by a component. It takes in a decal, and basically it contains an instigator and some effects. And when it's like destroyed, it triggers the effects. It's pretty simple stuff. You can poke into it and try it out. It's not in a finalized state, so I would recommend not getting too attached to it. But then I have demo abilities. I have some audio clips that I made, I think. Yeah, base audio clips I made. BGM, choice, combatants, combatant filters. That's for, well, filtering a list of combatants. Conditions. The minimap. Yes, let me talk about the minimap pretty soon here. I just want to see what else I can show off because I'm on the demo stuff. Demo damage types. And again, you can look at this for, you can use this as is, like a sorry, my brain got tangled up. I'll just go over this in a second. You have demo damage types, and all sorts of stuff. You can look through this at your own time. Some dynamic cameras. The big stuff I've been adding for demo content are the abilities, which I showed off earlier, which you can look at and see how they work. Menus, which I will touch on something related to these in a minute, but these are common menus that you use in games that you can use right out. So we have a choice menu, we have a confirmation menu, a pause menu, a save and load menu, a generic info menu. Settings menu is still a work in progress. I think most of these are, but and systems, gameplay systems. Most of these are also still work in progress, but I've just now included a simple party system, quest system, exploration, loading state, menu and pause collectibles. I need to work on these more before I really before they're presentable and ready to use. But essentially, these are just common systems in many games, and you can modularly decide which ones you want to use and which ones you don't. And a lot of this is just like, I use these a lot, so I want them ready to go without having to remake them every game. So why not just have them available to you as well? And then a bunch of widgets as well. Let me see, data widgets especially for stuff, all sorts of stuff: descriptions, attributes, attribute modifiers, collected assets, combatants, blah 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 blah. Now, kind of the issue with making demo content like this is you're still going to want to modify it from project to project, even if you're reusing a lot of code. And it becomes a little tedious to have to go into and modify tons and tons of different files, especially if they're native in a plugin, because you kind of don't want to use that because it affects all of them. So I was thinking of what's a way I can essentially keep all the stuff you need to edit for some of these common demo assets in one spot, so you can edit them in one spot. I am behind. I'll get to minimaps after this. I just want to go over this next thing, by the way, Sarah. So that's when I came up with just settings assets. It's like the most obvious thing. Now, these are slightly different than project settings, but you will set them in project settings. So if I go in here, I have gameplay settings, path settings, and slate settings. You probably won't have much use for path settings right now, but the main one are gameplay settings and slate settings. Gameplay kind of determines gameplay systems and stuff like that, while slate determines what the heck was that? Something got unplugged. Slate determines UI, basically. There are settings like this, so they're easy to prefab up and use across different projects. So let me go in and show you how these are. I have here Orion set. I'll just go show you the Orion settings for Circle of Orion. So I'll open Orion gameplay settings and Orion slate. If any of you have used Lyra, the Unreal like shooter template for Unreal 5, it's kind of similar to how the front end's working there, though not exactly. The slate is probably the bigger one, but so gameplay here. Ignore the maps; they're probably gonna get removed because I don't use them. The main thing here is I have preset. I have a dialogue system and battle system which you can set on your own, because that way you can just call them with the event. Oops. Let's see. Get out of here. System dialogue or system battle. It's just macros that call those. So again, you can reuse the same code across projects without it potentially breaking things, and you can just change what system it's using here. For gameplay, the main thing to be aware of is meta settings, and meta settings are just blueprint scriptable settings that you can make. I have some default ones here, but you can make your own, and it's essentially just a list of constants that you can call on across your entire project. So, for example, I have stuff here for combat. I have this is a pop-up damage class. I have stuff for dialogue, which is like stuff for parsing data, for parsing a external file into dialogue. I have stuff for turn-based combat settings here. This is how you would edit settings for demo or settings for your own content that you'd want to make across multiple projects. So, example, to create a meta setting, let me just say my meta setting. Big number. You just have this number here you want as 525. That's the default anyway. Then you just go into gameplay, add it into here, and let's make sure it's actually editable. Meta settings. What the heck? I'm done. My meta setting. And there you go. It can adjust it here. And then to access it, you just go meta setting. Get gameplay meta setting. My meta setting. Big number. Easy. And on top of that, if you're fine with like whatever the defaults on here are, and you don't want to edit them anywhere else in this project specifically, you don't need to include it in meta settings, because whenever you call it here, it'll just get whatever the default number is. So this is how I would allow you to edit demo content made in Omega to suit your project specifically. Kind of related, let's go over to Slates, because that actually is a lot more stuff. Slate works the same way, but it's specifically for UI. So I have these different, you have different text styles you can set, data widget save slot, you have different assets for progress bars, buttons, sliders. You have a loading indicator, your game logo, splash images, which these are when you run the splash menu. It'll run through all these images and then close out. You have some default sounds for select, hover, menu open, menu close, BGM title, and then a bunch of different menus you can set here, though by default you don't need to use them. Anyway, Slate settings are then used in the demo settings. Not there. Demo menus. Let's pull up the save load menu, for instance, because this is baked into Omega. This is how right now it looks for Circle of Orion, because it's using the Circle of Orion like UI styles. But I can also right now I can go into project settings, change the Slate to use the default or the default Omega demo style. Let me recompile this, and boom, it's changed over to use that. So it's a way of kind of editing styles without having to create all that stuff yourself. It's ready to go out of the box. You still right now need to look into how it works to get all the specifics, but there you have it. Yeah, I think meta settings is this main thing that'll probably be used to a lot of people, and that'll be what I use for like demo abilities and stuff, so you can edit them without needing to edit all the blueprints. So back to Sarah's question, minimap. I will get to that in a second. One more question: how do you make? Oh, so Sarah also asks one more question: how have you made your player stats like you see in games like Dark Souls, where you level up and increase their stats? Right. So that's sort of that's possible. let me just go ahead and answer that. So in my game, that's not really how stats work. You don't like specifically choose which one you want to level up. Attributes is the short answer. If you've used Omega, yeah, obviously, which I'm assuming you have because you've talked about it. Attributes, obviously the main, actually let's go a better one, health, are the main method for that, which by the way, so people know, I am going to start moving over to using attribute scripts to determine values, which are a little more flexible, but you can use the normal method for right now, so don't worry about breaking anything. By default, you set a max value here. This is like just the most common thing in this case for health. You have 100 health, starts at 100%, very simple. You can add a rank value curve to, depending on the combatant's level, it'll increase what that stat is. That's the basic stuff. Now, if you're wanting to have like in Dark Souls where you increase stats like manually, what you can do, let me go ahead, open up a character and look at their combatant component. One thing you can do is just add a modifier. I would recommend having one modifier for like all your flat stat mods that the player made, but add mod attribute modifier. Let's create. You can. There's documentation on using attribute modifiers that I would recommend looking up for all the details. But assuming you know how to use attribute modifiers, you can just do them the normal way. Or no. I will just do HP, whatever it is. Plus 10. Add modifier. The standard method of adding modifiers to a character. And then you just save out those modifiers somehow. However, There's another probably easier way to do it that I added recently, and that is if you don't want to use the basically if you don't want to use the attribute's default values, like a health 100, you can just override their max values. So in this case, health, I want this character to have 200 health instead of 100. Boom, there they have 200 health. And can you set the override? Yeah, you can set the override values for an attribute either individually or in bulk, and you can also set them as integers. So that'd be another case where you modify the stat, just reapply them and to the combatant. That would probably be the easiest method. All right, I'm not saving a new map. All right, let me reload this map because Unreal's being a little stubborn. Next, the mini map. Once I reload this map, I will show you how I make the mini map, which is also very much a work in progress still as well. Yeah, save all the selected stuff. We're not gonna save that map, okay? Because Unreal, I don't know if this is a 5.2 thing, but it has a problem where it generates auto maps and then wants you to save them. It's like I don't want to save the map. I don't need it. Anyway. Alright. Mini-maps. So, another thing I'm working on adding into... I'm trying to add any common use game systems directly into Omega now, not just be in my own project. So I have this... Let me stop using a new window. I have a mini-map in the top corner here, which needs a lot of changing. That is, I believe, a persistent system. That is included with. It is not. Why is it? Oh! I know why it isn't. I just need a... I work with two different versions of Omega. One is in Orion, one is just in the project in general. And I keep forgetting to move files from the general use one for my to the native Orion one. So, I guess okay. I don't think I can go into it in detail. The short answer, Sarah, is yes. The mini-map system is is in Omega Game Framework. It's going to be part of Omega Game Framework, and I will have documentation on how to use it in the future. The shorter answer is all you need to do is you'll add a system in here, the mini-map system in here. You will have a component for mini-map indicators that you'll put on any actor that you want to indicate that you have a map indicator. And then there is a widget you'll add on to whatever system you want to display the map on. That's the short answer of how it'll work. It's kind of in not a super showable state, but I will go over that more when it's closer to being finished. But yeah, because that's another system commonly used in games, so it should probably be baked into Omega because it's no point in recreating the same system, because that's kind of the idea. There's no point in recreating the same system that works the same way for every project. You just need to change the cosmetics, how it appears to the player, and how the player interfaces with it. That's all that needs to change. So, all right. I'm going to take a look at my list, because I think I'm close to the end of stuff to show off. I'm working on new documentation. Yes, I am. Let me go... Well, that's actually on the GitHub, so you can look at, but it's very early. But I am working on new documentation for Omega that's directly with the source code. I think that's everything I had that I was initially going to go over in the devlog, so... Alright, let's figure out what else to go over. Battles need to be fixed, but I don't remember how much of this stuff here I've shown off. I posted like videos on Twitter and whatever demonstrating it, but one of the things I made here was this spline climbing system, which I think I can demonstrate this more in depth now, because I've just shown it off in some of the videos I posted. But basically the way it works is that it uses PCG the PCG system, I have this. I can draw a spline thing. So you do this trace to see if it collides with the surface. Now I believe it collides with a visible surface or checks for surface visibility, and then we'll drop these leaves on it. And then when I jump up, I just scan forward to see if there are any grabbable leaves. So like here. Now, the way I have it is you do need to do a mid-air click in order to actually grab on and climb. And I need to make sure that the actual climbing up bit is okay, because otherwise you can just jump. But adding a little bit of platforming elements, because I enjoy those. Whoop! I'm probably going to need to get rid of that camera because it's throwing me off now. But let's see how the vine system works. It's just a PCG graph, right? Yeah. But I can show you that. Why not? How does this work? Yeah, it's pretty simple. I believe trace collision is included with Omega, but that's just does what it says. It traces for visibility collision here. I sample a spline, add noise to it, trace for collision, and then spawn the vine meshes. And I believe the vine meshes have a tag. Now, this actor has a tag climbable, and that's used to determine if it's a climbable surface. Mantling, yes. Ledge grab for the vine climbing. It depends what you mean. There's not really a ledge grab. There's just climb, because this is light platform elements. Probably no ledge grabbing. It'll just be this kind of vine climbing. And mantling will obviously need to be added, because that's just how you can get on top. But yeah, and I need to implement this like linearly for ladders. But that's the system. I'm working on elemental field abilities. I believe I don't know if I talked about this one before because my memory is terrible. But you see, since the game's classical RPG, collecting elemental crystals. And if you see in the bottom corner there, see, is it Alt? I thought I had a key to bring up the cursor, but I don't. That's okay. If you see in the bottom corner there, I have the 4 elements that right now it's just displaying I have all of them for testing purposes. But they give you different abilities. So normally you have a single jump. When you have wind, you have a double jump. Attacking has fire coated on it, which lets you burn vines away. And I'm not sure what water and earth do yet. I haven't decided. But field abilities for the crystals to add a little bit of a almost Metroidvania element where you have unlock new paths in previous dungeons. PCG has been very, very useful for many things. As you can see here, I use PCG to create sort of the randomized element of these vines, and it's position based, so it doesn't change the look of them whenever I reload it, because it keeps a position based seed. But I can just have this driver to create, however big or small I want. One thing that's been great for, though, is landscapes. Let me open up one of the dungeons to show you. Though it's an exterior dungeon, but whatever. Because I'm trying to find... My main goal is to find as many ways to be efficiently lazy as possible. And making villager... Oh, and making villages. Yeah, I haven't... it's a... I actually use my own largely use my own World Mason plugin to create like villages or towns and stuff, which I can show off a little bit later as well. But I use PCG for some of the scattering, especially like background scattering. I don't. Well, this may take a while, or not. All right. So, it's one of the early game dungeons. Got all these. This is kind of a desert, well, mountainy area, but it's like a desert mountain area. This uses a very simple PCG system to drop rocks along the cliff faces, and just randomly on the ground, and you got pebbles and stuff. I haven't checked to see the frame rate. Like usually runs fine, but haven't checked it in a build version. Let's see. To show you kind of what this all covers, if I turn this off. Oh, I still do have some other rocks, but the point is it builds along the landscape. So, let me go and just demonstrate how it looks. Landscape. What the heck? What the heck? So, I can do this. Dropping rocks along to make that cliffside look better. Makes dungeons look much better, much easier. That's one of the main things I'm using it for, so I can make new dungeons much faster. It's just loading LEDs. Don't worry about it. This here is an example of how I set up some backtracking. So like when you get the fire element, you can cut through these vines, and because normally in this dungeon you'll have to kind of take this long way around to get all the way around, and then go through here and eventually go up here. But if you ever want to backtrack, once you get the fire element, you just cut open those vines, climb up here. In fact, why do I need to demonstrate that? I mean, why don't I demonstrate it? With cool music. And you can jump and grab, because that's more fun. Oops. Nope, jump. There we go. So, shortcut to the top. Now, I don't, just to clarify, I don't have a ton of backtracking that's required in the story. There's a couple instances, but overwhelmingly, you don't need to do anything. Yeah, now we're back up here where we can just, Oh, I thought I had a better climbing thing than that. Well, I can just do this. Jump! Jump! So there's not really much backtracking in the game, only a very, very few story instances of it, and I've tried to make it so it's easier to account for. Yes, that's an example of it. Sarah also says, I want to make PCG villages that include the interior. I don't know when I'm going to learn to do it. Yeah, I mean, my mindset with PCG and all that sort of stuff is basically, yeah, like how little work can I get away with? It's like, what's the... Well, or maybe to put it another way, what is the absolute minimum amount of stuff I need to put down manually? What's a good way to phrase this? Say if you're building... Let me open up do a new map to demonstrate, in my mind, how procedural content generation ultimately should like work to the player's favor. Say you're building a house. Your PCG system builds a house. You're not, and you are not really concerned with a lot of the specifics of this house, right? All you know is like, all right, I want it to be this big, take up this space, and I know I want there to be a door right here the player can enter in and out. And maybe you'll put in some furniture and stuff manually. But the point is, that's all the stuff you need to manually know. I know I want a house here, and I know I want a door on this side. Why, with modern tech, do I, as a player, need to worry about laying down all these walls, laying down all the posts, laying down the roof, laying down any kind of dirt, splattering, doing all that stuff manually, when it should be done, like... The fact that I have a house means I know all that stuff's going to be done, right? Why shouldn't that be done automatically? There's no reason I have to manually place that. Like, the door, this I need to manually place so I know where the house goes. The door I need to manually place so I know where the door goes. But like all this other stuff, it's repetitive. It's gonna go in the same spot. That's where PCBG and stuff like that should be used for, to build stuff out automatically, or even like, you know, if I have different types of walls or different dirt scattering or trees. I know I have a section, like I know I want trees in this zone, but I don't. Why should I have to put them down all manually? That's a waste of time, and it doesn't really matter. So I'll just make a system that drops them there randomly. That's what PCG I think should be used for. Is basically letting you be as lazy as possible. Because it's like there's no reason for me to have to do that. Jiv the Wanderer says, "How fast can I do this? Are you referring to the landscape PCG, or what are you referring to specifically when you ask that?" Right now, I'm gonna work on fixing up combat. Don't save. In fact, I'm reloading the project because it seems like it's insisting on loading a map that I don't need. Get out of here. Oh, so you are referring to the landscape PCG. Bit of camera lag when sprinting. There actually is a bit of camera lag already, but I could look into to how much of it to what the good amount is. I could test that out more. How fast can as for to Jib the Wanderer? How fast can you make the comment that you were thinking when you think what the proper way to say? Yeah, that's my mind is a mess. As you might have noticed watching my streams, it's why I enjoy streaming, but I'm not very good at it for that reason, because my mind just goes all over the place and kind of stops a thought midway through and starts a new thought. Anyway, as far as creating a PCG landscape, there's plenty of videos that kind of document how to do it. If you set up PCG templates and reusable components enough, it shouldn't be too hard to make new ones. You just kind of have to learn how to use it, how to detect landscape layers in PCG, and then place stuff down based on that. Once you learn how to do that, pretty easy, I think, to make new stuff. I mean, that landscape I had, or that PCG graph, I can show you just how it worked. So PCG theme desert landscape. This is how it works. It just samples landscape add-ons and the actual landscape itself. It determines what the slope is, and this I could even simplify more, but it drops rocks on the slope, drops surface rocks, and then some grass and pebbles. Simple enough. You just gotta, once you've learned how to do it. Then there's videos on doing PCG that you can, lots of them on YouTube. So, all right, now I'm gonna figure out why the heck combat is not showing any abilities. I will probably go to 1 o'clock CST, so about another roughly 20 minutes, and then I will call it as far as streaming goes. Okay, so okay, decal was just loading in. So let's pull open my boy. Not that one. Hope you're enjoying the wonderful music. Hang on. I'm actually going to turn down the desktop audio, but it's basically all the way while I work on this. Thank you. Yeah, it's temporary BGM, but it's good stuff. So what should be happening... Actually, let me pull up the widget. That's what matters right now, is the actual battle menu. Should leave us under... Not actors. HUDs. Battle. Alright. And I'm assuming I can't cycle the different... Oh, I can! What the heck? Okay, so there are some skills going through. Get all my players... I only have 2 skills? Why? That's weird. I should have a lot more than that. Let me check the Lewis state. What's the plugin called to make the blueprint lines like them? I believe... Let me double check, but I believe it's called electric nodes. Not flat nodes. I do have that one, but I don't really use it. It is called electric nodes. Maybe I misspelled it. This is it. This is... Oops, hang on. This is the one I use. I believe I use this Subway style, that version of it. I don't remember how much it is, but there it is on the marketplace. Is it paid? Okay. I'm not sure if there are any alternatives that are unpaid. Alright. Anyway, so the point is, right now... Alright, I wanted to check the state. No problem, GameForge. Yeah, electronic. That would explain it. Save. Where is it? Save game. He has no skills. I don't know why. I wonder if party stuff is broken again. Even so, it should be showing the attack and defense ability. Alright. General. Hang on. $15? Yeah, it's just a cosmetic thing. So it's kind of up to you. I like it. I think it's not. It makes for nicer nodes. Skill.common. Okay. So anything with the category skill.common. Son of a nutcracker. Category skill.common. Oh, maybe that's it. Oh, it's because I changed how magic and stuff worked. That's right. Well, still, this should be appearing correctly. Well. Let's get some... Oops. Well, I guess I have my own music playing here. I should probably have music turned off for these devlogs or whatever. Alright, so now we go into... Not here. This. Let's figure out why... That's not what I want. I want these. Battle action. Source asset. It's a nil value. Why is it nil? Its key is a string. Yeah, what the heck? Well, let's look at good old Lua doing its thing. G skills? What the crap? Where am I calling G skills from? What? Have you been bad? Are you doing this wrong? Master source. Your value. Is it under... Maybe is it gonna get feed, get value? Merge. Get effects. Merge data tables from objects. What is that? Oh, right. How long do you work on this game, daily or weekly? Right now on Circle of Orion, I'm probably working. Let me think. So on days I do work on this, it's usually a full day, so like 8 hours, and honestly sometimes it's up to 10. But I would say because I have other contract and other things I'm working on, I probably work on Circle of Orion about 2 to 3 days out of the week. Not usually more than 3, so some weeks I'll have a full week. So I would say probably around 30 hours is my average right now. For when I was like at the height of my devlogs, it was like 40 to 60 hours. Did I say 30 hours? I'm thinking wrong. It was probably around 40 to 50 hours, like at the height of my devlog, because it was like full time. Right now, though, it's probably around 20 to 30 at the most. I'd like to increase that number up. I just have other contract work I need to do. Obviously to make it, because when I was doing the other stuff, I was at a point where I had enough like money built up from contract work that I could work full time on this. Right now, though, I need to. Yeah, I know. That's why I've been able to make a lot of progress solo. It's just I'm in a unique position where I don't have a. I do contract game design, and it pays well enough to where I can do less of it and still make a solid chunk of money. So that frees me up to do a lot of my own work, on top of the stuff I sell on the marketplace. So I'm in a very, very fortunate position that I know a lot of other devs, like solo devs, do not have, and I'm very grateful for that. But I love my work. I love doing this. That's why I do it so much. So yeah, it's not crunch to me, because I also work from home. I do use OGF in my contracts as well. That's what's sped up. Every single Unreal game that I've worked on has used OGF. And I forgot what I was looking for. I'm looking for where on earth I'm giving them the attack and defense ability. It's somewhere around here. It's not in character, is it? It might be. Is it in... Oh, wait. I think it's a component I made. Battle elements, battle... Is it... Maybe it's a component? I don't know. Lewis... Okay, this is where I just start off with what skills they have. And this is why, because I'm doing this thing. Okay, well that's found... No. I don't want to edit you. I wanted to edit the component. Edit, begin, play, Lewis skills, perm. Oh, wait, no. Get last gameplay string from tag. That's right. What the frick? Alright, well, back at it again with the white bands, I guess. Alright. All the party instances, we don't want that. We want the battlers. Yeah, 0 attack. That's the key. What do you mean nil? Didn't I just check and that skill is valid? Let me double check. It should be under D skills. What the? Where are they? And it keeps... Why is it calling G skill on tick? What is happening here? Oh boy. This is why it takes so long. Is your Genshin livestream still a viable way to learn OGF? It's not bad if you want to get started, but OGF has been updated and streamlined quite a bit. A lot of stuff that took longer to do in there is now faster to do. I would say for a more recent one, even though it may not be what you're looking for in terms of the style of game, trying the making a game with, let me show this, my channel. Trying this one, creating a game using Omega Game Framework and Unreal Engine. That will be a little more up to date. Unfortunately, that was like a part 1 that never got a part 2, so it doesn't go over everything. And I really, once this current version 1.5 is out, like on the marketplace, totally ready for everyone to use, I will probably do another stream demonstrating how to use the updated version, how to use the demo assets, and all that sort of stuff. I'm sorry, like the issue is, like, as I'm working on my own thing, my contract work, and all that, it's hard to work on documentation that I also keep up to date. I know it's important, and I shouldn't be making excuses. It's just that's kind of how it's panned out. I also have had trouble finding a proper way to do documentation, and I just basically learned how to. It's crazy that I know all this other stuff, but I didn't learn Markdown. But I learned how to write in Markdown like in the last few months, last year basically. So I'm writing Markdown documentation in the actual source folder, which I will update as it comes, and will be updated as along with the new website, because I am also reworking on the Studio Syndicate website, because right now it's in a state where it's very hard to update if I want to add new posts or new content, and I'm working on improving that. So we'll let public help with the yeah, well, that's another reason I'm glad I've moved the documentation to GitHub, is that it'll be easier for people to, if they want to get into the documentation and add on to it. That's why I initially switched to Gitbooks, but Gitbooks is still pretty complicated. So now that it's on GitHub directly, it's just in the docs folder. Let me pull that up. Just under here, docs. Yeah, if people kind of have stuff they want to add, yeah, like this is all super basic, kind of starter stuff. Actually, let me go back properly. Documentation. Yeah, but if there's stuff they want to add to it, they can, and I can review it. So, yeah, working on it. I am okay. Here's another thing I will say: no promises. I'm looking into the possibility. At this point, I think Omega's far enough along and complex enough. I'm looking into submitting an Epic Mega Grant for Omega. If I do, and if it's successful and I get funding for it, that'll free me up time potentially to fill out documentation and to polish some of the stuff, because the other stuff for it. So. Something I'm considering right now, but I need to look more into it and look more into what I need to do. Alrighty, I got about 10 minutes. Let's see if I can. Well, I know what the problem is. No, I don't know what the problem is. The problem is, for some reason, it's not adding the skills, even though they're right here. Right, I wanted to check and see if there was something wrong with the common skills file. Ah, it's killing before it starts. That's why. Weapon damage? What the heck? Weapon damage? What are you talking about? What do you want? At 16? Oh, right. Because I changed how that worked. Alright, I'm getting rid of that for now. Which will break... What? Wait a minute. Why is that broken? Frick me sideways. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's production ready in the sense that it's been used on production and stuff. It's just that not all of it is probably up to. I was gonna say not all of it is up to Epic standards as far as like cleanliness and organization. But if I'm gonna be frank, I doubt Epic standards for a lot of organization and cleanliness, because I have seen some of their stuff. I've seen Lyra. I've seen how that project looks. I've seen how their other stuff looks. It is not organized. It is not easy to use. It is confusing and it's a mess. So, I honestly at this point trust my standards much more than Epic's. But that's kind of irrelevant when you're asking them to give you money. So you kind of have to follow their standards anyway, which is fine. It's their money. They can, but. And that's also why I keep the GitHub version mainly updated and then update the marketplace version as I can. 100 tabs will always be open in Blueprints. Yeah. Though I'm trying to reduce that. I actually don't have that many tabs open these days in Blueprints. I'm going to have a few here, but once again, what was I looking at? Right. Where did the... let me put this back in. Go to definition. Please tell me I didn't delete the effects, like, macros that I made. I might have. That would not be good unless... do I already have them? Wait, maybe I... Oh boy, well, whatever. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm getting tired and I need to eat lunch soon, so... we'll just ditch that just to see if I can get the common skills to appear again. Yeah! There's attack and defense. Hopefully didn't break the mic there. And there, yeah, you can see a little bit of how the battle system is working. It's right now I'm using the mouse wheel to scroll through my abilities. You can cycle through them, though right now I only have attack and defense. But, yeah, attack, which won't do anything on the enemy. But it'll end my turn, and then I can defend as well. Yeah. And also, enemy AI doesn't work. I think I turned it off just for testing purposes. No, I think these guys don't do anything. They don't have AI, but... Alright! I'm tired. I think I'm just going to call it there. And I will figure out what's going on with skills and fix that afterwards. What's the widget name for looking at the enemy stats? Are you talking about the one that's like appearing over their head as I target them? If so, I will just show you. That's not a native. That's not an Omega native. That's custom, but it should be pretty easy to set up. Enemy. Not enemy field UI. Well, I'll just pull up the folder. Okay, yeah, just give me a second and I will pull it open. It's under widgets. I think it's data widgets. Battle to target. All right. So yeah, this is a Circle of Orion, a game custom. This is not an Omega, but a lot of the pieces are. So yeah, it just displays their name, their level, which just uses a combatant level widget. HP, which uses that's not a, that's also an Orion specific one. Displays their attribute affinities, or no, damage type affinities. That's it. Yeah. Oh man, this is another thing I... Do I want to go over this? I'll quickly go over this now. Any of you know do any of you use data lists or data widgets? That's a system in Omega that I haven't really gone over. It's a type of widget in UI that's kind of really significant. I just haven't really gone over how to use it, but it's kind of a big deal for a lot of UI stuff. In short, data widgets are just, it's a class of widget, of user widget, that you give a source object, and they can set and display all sorts of data from it easily. And data widgets create a list of data, or data lists. Let me just demonstrate. Data list. You can set a entry class, which is a data widget class. I'm just going to do option default. Make sure auto-wise this, and then not that. We'll do this here. It's an easy way to list out this stuff. Just add info, blah blah blah. And you have different ways you can format it: horizontal, vertical, scroll grid, uniform grid. Anyway, kind of going back to settings. To the game settings I made, you have an additional thing for. I'm just gonna assume you know what data widgets are, because it's gonna this is gonna be faster if I just assume you know. And if you don't, I might go for them a different time. But I added a new system to data widgets called metadata, which is just a way you can modify a data widget's appearance and its values without having to create a child of it. That's the short version. So, like, if I just add a attribute, Omega UI, an attribute widget here. I can add the attribute metadata, and this will let me just turn off bits of text. I don't know why it's not turning off there, but like turns off the progress bar. lets me turn off text. Right. Pretty simple in that sense. Where it's more useful is in data lists. It lets you modify the whole list without it lets you modify the whole list HP without needing to create a child class. So you can get a lot more specific about how you want it to be up here. So like I here have HP and MP, and then I can just set the metadata here. I don't want a progress bar. What the heck? Progress bar isn't participating there, but text is. Well, that's how it's supposed to work. And it does in this case. I think there's just a broken value, but... JC says, are you developing this entirely in Blueprints? I'm new here, or are you doing the whole thing mixed and match C++ and Blueprints? So, this project is... While it technically has a C++ file, it's all being made in Blueprints. So my plugin, Omega Game Framework, kind of the entire premise behind it is to build a bunch of systems in C++, in the actual plugin, so that you don't need to touch C++ yourself. It's intended to be a plugin that allows you to make your entire game a very high-level, complex game in only Blueprints, and to make it much faster. So I have a C++ file that only exists so I can continue to work on Omega Game Framework, my plugin. Circle of Orion, my RPG, uses no project-specific C++. None. It's all Blueprints. That's the whole premise. As well as the 2 previous games I worked on, which are both available on Steam. The Fantastic Kitty Roo and Liberty Bell. Both completely Blueprints. No C++ in them. Alright. And I think I will be wrapping it up there. This was fun. It was a little exhausting, but I had a fun. You know what? Oh, when is Mariposa releasing? This will probably be the last question that I'll need to head out. So right now, Mariposa, basically we had a Kickstarter for it, and we didn't meet the Kickstarter goal. So it's too big of a project to work on at the moment. So while the demo's out, we are not working on it at the moment. But we have other stuff we're working on to like slowly build up funding for it, as just over time. But like Kitty Roo, if you're unaware, this is set in the same universe as Mariposa. So it uses some similar assets, some similar concepts and stuff. But no, this is Metroid Dreaded, one might say. Where no, that's not a good word. It's basically shelved at the moment. But one we'd love to come back to, and we want to come back to at some point. So, all right. I think I might do this again. I think I'll do this again next week. This is fun. We'll see about editing a devlog, but at the same time, I do really like the style of Mariposa as well, and I'd love to. Ink Rose is great to work with. She's a great artist. She's a great writer, and it's fun to work on her with projects, including the one we're working on right now, Normore Academy, which that's our next. Nora Moore. This is our next upcoming game after Liberty Bell and Kitty Roo. Working project. It is it's like a noir school mystery adventure game, a murder mystery adventure game even. So that's what we're working on right now. It's in an early stage, but it's going along smoothly. Oh yeah, best of luck to you. Someday, she says she hopes someday she might learn enough to make a small Souls-like game. I hope so too. I'd love to. Man, not many things would make me happier than seeing like people be able to make really fun, successful games, make the games they want to make using Omega, and to knowing it made their process easier. So, all right. Thanks all for coming along, and I will. I'll see you later.